Hey everyone, it's me again, and this last video in my retrospect of the Windows family deals with Windows 8, 8.1, and 10. Unfortunately, I actually don't have Windows 8 or 8.1, as the laptop that came with Windows 8 was the one that I had intended to upgrade to Windows 10, and I actually don't have a version of Windows 8 or 8.1 that I can throw up on a virtual machine. On top of that, I'm not overly certain where the documentation is that has my product code or the activation key for Windows 8. So I'm kind of screwed there. But either way, very quickly, this is probably the biggest reason that a lot of laptop and desktop users were complaining about Windows 8. Microsoft wanted to go and basically consolidate one operating system for everything: phone, tablet, desktop, laptop. They found out very quickly while people really did like having this sort of interface for their cell phones and for their tablets, it wasn't such a good thing for desktop and laptop users, because most of us, don't have touchscreen monitors. Even though, yes, there are touchscreen monitors on some laptops, desktops, not so much. And we did not like the fact that we were faced with these tiles and all the other weirdness that came with it. We didn't even have anything like what we were used to. There was no taskbar, there was no start button, you had this. And grant you could go back to the regular desktop, but even that disappointed a great many users, because as you can see here, yes, you did have your taskbar and you had all of your icons, but notice that there is no start button. This was really not something a lot of us liked. Windows 8, and don't get me wrong, Windows 8, as far as an operating system, when it came to stability, reliability, and just its overall functionality, Windows 8 and 8.1, they were damn good. I'm not going to lie about that. They were damn good operating systems, but it was the delivery, the radical change, really, it did not float well with the desktop and laptop users. We wanted the Windows we knew and loved. We wanted that back. I mean, I can absolutely agree with that. When I found out Windows 10 was going to be freely available for people who had Windows 8, and Windows 7 and Windows 8, and later on 8.1, I did not hesitate in shifting my laptop over to Windows 10. I had fully intended on keeping my desktop at Windows 7, as I had stated in the previous video, but, well, we see how well that happened. So, Microsoft actually listened to the desktop and laptop users, and they gave us 8.1. which defaulted to the desktop. Gave us back our start button, even though it, if memory serves me, it didn't quite work the same way that we were used to, but we wanted it back. We got it back. A couple more tweaks, and they did, I believe, get the start menu back the way that we wanted it. Again, I am not going to slam Windows too hard about this. They at least listened to us, and for that I'm grateful. Change is inevitable. Sometimes change is good, sometimes change is bad, and Microsoft has tripped in the past. This time it was it was one of those things that it was a good idea on paper, but when they actually rolled it out, they suddenly realized a lot of people did not like this. So they had to take a step back, rethink things, and there was talk about, okay, well, what's Windows 9 going to be like? And Microsoft swerved us, and instead of Windows 9, they said, well, hey, guess what? Presenting Windows 10. And the interesting thing was the free upgrade. But, I can't really bag too hard on Windows 8 or 8.1 as an operating system in general. It was good. The interface sucked, but the operating system was pretty damn good. So this brings us to Windows 10, the current version. Windows 10, as I had just mentioned, it sort of took people by surprise simply because, after going through the whole thing with Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, there was talk, of course, whoa, what's Windows 9 going to be like? And there was, for a little bit, there was talk about Windows 9, and suddenly Microsoft swerved us a bit and said presenting Windows 10. Windows 10, of course, there was a great menu. It held on to Windows 10 held on to the stability, the functionality. It held on to the positive things about Windows 8. When it came, though, to some of the negative things, at least for desktop and laptop owners, they decided, okay, we're going to compromise. We're not going to give you a screen full of tiles. What they did, however, was they implemented the tiles here in with the start menu. Now I'm using the most recent version of Windows 10, which there are subtle differences from when Windows 10 first came out. A lot of it actually had to do with the organization in the menu, and there were other aspects, some functional, some visual, but this was the new model for Windows. What they were going to do is they were taking a cue from Apple, because Apple's been running with Mac OS 10, I guess, or Mac OS X, depending on I don't know which one's proper, but that's been around for a while. And what they do is they revamp, they update, and they give it a new name. So OS X is perpetually, it's going to be the operating system for Mac. Windows is going to be like that. Windows 10 is just going to keep marching on. They're going to update it, do their changes, updates, and I probably said updates already. Updates, upgrades, and functionality. Although some of the announcements have not gone down too well. The Windows Store, which was, I believe, introduced in Windows 8, is going to be it is going to be popping up on my other monitor. So I believe Windows 8 came up with is where this started, but there is an app store for Windows, which for some of us who, I mean, I have actually downloaded a few apps. I like using, say, the Netflix app, the Hulu app. I don't really download games from the Windows Store. That, after all, in my view, that's what Steam is for. One other thing Windows 10 brought us, they told us it was going to be the end of the line for the Internet Explorer. Version 11 was it. Version 11 is the last version of Internet Explorer. Because now we had a new browser, Windows Edge. I don't really know what to say about it because I barely ever use it. I don't know if anybody else does. Go ahead and put it down in the comments if this has become your new favorite browser for, if you are a Windows user, because it is certainly not a favorite of mine. As you can tell, of course, it's like Firefox and Chrome. These are my mainstays, and every now and again I'll use Internet Explorer if I have to. Because, as I said before, Internet Explorer, there are just some websites, for whatever reason, they don't like Chrome, they don't like Firefox. For all I know, they probably don't even like Opera. But they will work well with Internet Explorer 11. Also, the Windows Media Player, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that this was actually going to be disappearing from Windows 10. Obviously it hasn't. I don't know if they grandfathered it or what the story is. But you still have a great many aspects to the Windows we know and love. You still have your File Explorer. Everything is, instead of compartmentalizing by type of program now it is strictly alphabetical. A to Z, or in my case A to X, because I don't actually have any programs that start with a Z. And as I said before, we have the live tiles, where if you really want or need to, you can put programs in here, give them a live tile. I believe there is a way where you can expand your live tiles. My partner did it. Honestly, I have no idea how he did it, but somehow he has done it. But I've already gone on about my opinion of the live tiles. One other aspect, and I'm sure I'm sure a good many of us Windows 10 users, the right click on the start button brought so many interesting things. You could bring up apps and features, your power options, your event viewer, system configuration, device manager, and a heightened permission command prompt, that was pretty nice. You had your task manager settings. This actually, if I remember correctly, this was a change from the most recent large update that Windows 10 had. It I don't remember if it said control panel or what the deal, but now it says settings. So everything that was in the control panel is now under settings, and you actually still can get to the control panel, believe it or not. There is a way of getting to the control panel. Let me just see if there we go. Yes, the old school control panel, it does exist. So it takes a little bit of working around to find it, but for us old farts who prefer to adjust our settings this way, we can set it up like this. But this isn't too bad, to be honest. It's very nice. I guess if there's any complaint going from 7 to 10, it is that the windows have, actually Windows 8 brought it about. The windows were blocky, they weren't rounded, the Aero Glass theme had disappeared, so you didn't have that nice, aesthetically pleasing translucency. But I suppose these are minor complaints. I had stated earlier that Windows 10, Microsoft had stated Windows 10 was it. All that was going to go from here on out were updates, revisions, patches, you name it. They are going to be, this is what I understand, they are going to be releasing a version of Windows. It's going to be an OEM. I believe it's going to be coming out this year, 2017, maybe a little later. And it has a feature, has a lot of people talking, a lot of Windows users are talking and not very happy about it. Windows 10s will further lock down the configurability of Windows. Remember what I had said about the Windows Store? Well, guess what? Windows 10s is going to make it so that if you want any software outside of what comes with Windows, you're going to have to go there. And gamers are up in arms because Steam did not get approval to have their third-party app put into the Windows Store. Quite a few apps that are good third-party apps have been rejected. However, Microsoft says you can shell out another $50 at them and upgrade to Pro, which will allow you to install whatever third-party software you want to, and you still will have the availability to tweak up configurations and whatever. Why they're doing this to Windows SE, I have no idea. All I know is that I'm going to avoid it like the plague. I have no desire whatsoever to go from, to allow Windows S in any of my machines. Though I really don't know about my future with using Windows, as I have discovered the wonderful world and insane variety of Linux operating systems. So my next series will be focused on Linux, and it will be it's rather interesting because it'll be a view from a newbie. I have been using Windows. If you've watched this entire series, I have been using Windows since Windows 3.1, and I've used Windows ever since. I had heard of Linux, but I had never used it. And no disrespect to Microsoft or to the Windows operating system that has been so much a part of my life. But the more I find out about Linux and the more I actually use it, the more I like it. I'm not going to give up Windows completely simply because my course of study in college and hopefully an occupation in the future will require that I keep my knowledge of Windows active and current. So I cannot completely throw, if you'll forgive the pun, Windows out the window. But I will likely be using Windows less, and once I figure out a distribution of Linux that I can work with, pretty much full time, I'll set up the computer for dual boot, and that will pretty much become my primary operating system, unless I absolutely have to use Windows for this, that, or the other. So, if you have watched my entire series, I thank you very much. It means a lot to me. I'm a hobbyist. I don't make these videos professionally, and I'm probably not the most entertaining person when it comes to talking about computer things, operating systems, and the like. There are times I lose any semblance of eloquence in my delivery, but still. I hope you have enjoyed the series of videos as much as I have in creating them, and I hope you will come back for my series on Linux, which will be coming up very soon. So, for now, I thank you. I hope you have a great day. It's almost the 4th of July, so since this is probably going to be uploaded after the 4th, I hope you had a very good Independence Day. Until next time, I'm Nariko Murakami. See ya.